I was following Ben's tweets. We were just talking about them related to Charlamagne the God.
Okay.
I wanted a clarification on this because I watched the Daily Show segment that he did where he says basically that DEI is useless.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Okay, so the second half of that video is basically him saying that it doesn't actually give like any material benefits to Black folk, and that it's not actually uplifting them in the structure, right? Like they're not getting to the point of being CEOs and bosses and managers. But the start of it, and I saw a lot of people take like a lot of issue with Charlamagne and what he had said, is the idea that like him framing it that way was kind of like, you know, a negative thing, that he shouldn't have come out of the gates from the start and said that like it's mostly useless. Was that it?
Yeah, both and plus other stuff that he has incrementally been doing. Like Charlamagne is cool until he's not, and then he operates in ways that I really, really aggravate me in terms of Blackness. But in terms of his breakdown, I disagree with his second half, right? There are DEI programs. I know me and Rebecca, we kind of disagree on this part, but there are DEI programs that have been material benefits, right, that have actually has helped structurally, like, you know, whether or not it is able to change the system, that's something totally different. But if you go, you know, group by group, person by person, there's been plenty of people who benefited from a DEI program. But his framing, like, it's not just the Blackness of it, but it's also the rhetoric of it. You don't cede someone else's framing. You don't just give them the framing and say, okay, I'm going to buy into your framing and then I'm going to agree with your framing so I can make another point. That's lazy, Charlamagne. Challenge the underlying assumption in it. Anyone who is making this DEI argument is saying that by virtue of you being a minority, you did not and you could not possibly earn what you got. If you don't attack that, then what you doing, Charlamagne? That's all.
You done woke Ben up, and here Ben, you know,
with
the DEI thing though, but for his comments, Charlamagne's comments, because he has such a big audience. So this is where a lot of our Black audience, people who, you know, they'll go there and they trust Charlamagne's talking point. So for him to go on there and discredit or have this type of conversation, it hurts more than it helps, because I feel like too, he keeps it very surface. I don't feel like he goes in to try to get more information on it or however. And the people he even brings on, I don't think there's no, like, for these type of conversations, there's no pushback, there's no research. And mind you, I know that Charlamagne can do it. I've seen him show up in that way many a time, seen his interviews. But I think lately what we've been seeing, especially when it comes to major Black issues or major Black topics like DEI, and we know what the right has done with it, what conservatives have done with it. So to have just that kind of talking point on it, again, it doesn't help. It hurts. So, you know, Ben says, you know, that there are other things that Charlamagne has done. And that way, I know that Charlamagne has also been somebody at the forefront of a lot of great conversations and held those conversations and has held people's feet to the fire when having those conversations. I mean, this is a product of Wendy Williams we're talking about. So, but, and he's had a show where he's had conversations with political leaders. So I don't know why now they're going this route, but it just seems to be, you know, a little, you know, I gotta side eye it, you know, for just, right. And I get it, Ben. I get why you feel the way that you feel about Charlamagne, and I know you know.
Well, no, I mean, I generally like him. I generally just on average, okay. Fine, well enough. His donkey of the days are pretty good.
Like, he don't do them like that no more.
Yeah, but it's just, if you have the platform and the voice and the opportunity, why would the very first thing you do would be to cede a faulty and fallacious argument, framing? Why would you give that to Republicans? No, attack them. You're on the Daily Show. 10 million people are going to see you. Attack their premise. Don't give it to them and say, oh yes, DEI is bad or whatever. No, you are a racist if your underlying assumption is that anyone who is a minority got what they got because they are diverse and inclusive. No. Anyway.
And DEI, as I said, you know, I don't really like it too much because I feel like it's that one Black person in the office that holds the whole dang. They'll literally be like, hey, you. Okay, you're a black person, and we have a new section that we want you to head, and then they get there, they think they got a team. It's them and one other person, and they're holding down this whole thing on their own. But the company will say, we are proud of our blacks, and so we can see the whites in their eyes, and our black people, we're diverse here, and it's like, yeah, you gave this these black people so much on their shoulders to carry instead of hiring more black people, because that would be DEI, right? And giving them opportunities here and holding it down that way. But no, that ain't how they doing it. So that's how I feel about DEI.
Rebecca, listen, you reminded me of okay, so I used to work in the tech industry years ago when I lived in Boston, and we were at our annual meeting, and the CEO got up there. We had about at least 10,000 people in there. He said, look to your left, look to your right. Not very diverse, is it? and wow. everybody looked at me.
We're all trying to find out who did this.
Only black person on the left side of the entire team. And of course, but we were on the cutting edge of diversity and inclusion. This was at least a decade ago, and there I was, the only black person in the entire half hemisphere of the meeting.
Yeah, DEI gave us, and which was great at the time, but this is what DEI does, right? And I'm going to give you an example. DEI gave us Black Twitter in 2020. Black Twitter popping. They had their own section, in the office. All of the things, right? They started hyping up Black people, and then we saw with Netflix. Oh, we had a section, baby. Black movies was coming out. They were pushing out, lots of Black creators. That was a thing. Black voices. That's what we started seeing that as soon as. All of that died down, just like maybe a few months ago, a year ago, baby. They was doing the watermelons, remember, at the candles, the watermelons and stuff. DEI. I don't know who was in the room with that. One black person, because that's what happens when you got one black person. DEI, but all those things. But this is what DEI is. All of the sudden, we seen all of the layoffs for those for those black sections in these big companies and these big names. Netflix dropped that whole Black voices section, or where they had the people who were focusing on Black content there. Those people that they just went away with that.
And then section no more.
And then what? The creators at Target, now they're just, it's not the same as it was a few years ago. Now it's curated, and people, it's just kind of like, we're gonna choose these 3 people each time now for the Target. February month, Black History Month, because for me, Black History is every single day. But and we seen with Twitter when the takeover with Elon Musk, he did away with all that stuff. But he wasn't the only one. I know people were upset about that, but other companies were doing the same exact thing. No longer did we need to have this. We see how Ron DeSantis is doing with anything that has to do with Blackness at white schools. Let's take it away, because we don't need that. He's saying that promotes division, right? Switching it up, right? When it's supposed to be equality, it's supposed to be inclusion. And now he's saying this is what DEI is. They don't take it serious. And that's what I'm like, the rollback of what it was, right? That now they rolled it back. We don't need it anymore. Because, we had the 3 years where we gave people Blackness. We don't need that anymore. The person that sued Starbucks, because remember, they were like the first ones to roll out with shutting down and having that diversity and inclusion meeting, the sensitivity meeting about how you need to treat Black people when they come in and get their coffees, or whatever the case may be, or how those people need to treat our baristas, Black, like stuff like that, having those conversations. That man, a few years later, he got money. It's like there's just rollbacks. People don't think about it anymore. It's like DEI isn't important. So now DEI has become, the conservatives have taken it, and now it's become equivalent to the hard ER. So
CRT woke.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
Yep. So that's my take on that's why I don't like it. That's why I never did, because it never was serious to people. It just was something for them to do, to say, our Blacks. Okay, we go hand in hand. We too have Black employees, and we treat them great. We put them in a specific department, and they, you know, they're thriving here. Our one black, right? That's exactly what
Like
it's just always was.
It's the so you're saying, Rebecca, it's the corporate equivalent of we can't be racist. We have a black friend or
Exactly.
a black person right here. See, we employ black people. Person.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh man,
I have black friends.
Yeah,
I'll never forget this PhD program. I guess that I was a part of, and they were taking photographs. And they came all the way around campus to come find my black ass because they can have a diversity and inclusion on the whole screen of the University of
Did they do the Trump thing? Remember that Trump rally where he's like, "There's my black."
Exactly.
African American. He's like, look at my African American over there.
I
never heard it sound like a slur before.
I can only see the black. And it's like, sir, like this is what I'm talking about. Ben, we were DEI hires when we at that one place. We were DEI hires, like to the point where they were like, they were so infatuated with me and the hair of choice that month and my nails, and they were like, we just need somebody like you. The way they were staring at me is just incredible.
Oh my God.
That, you know, I will never forget it. In the interview, they were just staring at me and they were like, your nails, your hair, your skin. And then when we got there, they were like, we need our blacks at the forefront. And we ended up taking over it. We had white people, white anchors there, and they left, and the black people was the one holding down that whole thing. So, and when we got too black, and we started saying, you know what, let's do 2 Trump stories today, but let's talk about what the police are doing to black people today. And they were like, oh, a little bit too much of that. It's getting a little black.
Oh my God.
It's getting a little black. Then we talked about Black Panther, which did numbers for that company. With that, we millions of views, and they were like, you need to stop right now. So like literally that place that dissolved because we were DEI hires, and
the story evolved just a little each time she tells it, but it's essentially what she said is essentially yes. But it's actually worse, Rebecca. You forgot the best part. They literally came to us and said it's giving BET.
Yeah.
They said that
it's giving BET. They said that.
What?
In a meeting, they pulled us to the side because they were so upset that, first of all, they weren't showing up. Benjamin took the reins and was like, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. So the show, like it or not, give Ben his props. You know, he ain't put me on the marquee at that time, but now I am.
Now your name on the marquee.
Yeah, the show was mine. But then, you know, I wasn't on the marquee or whatever, but Ben did create this. Ben created it and, you know, did what he needed to do because they left it in our hands and they were just like, yeah, whatever. And we did take it somewhere. We got a great audience. We grew it. But
so they shut it down during Black History Month.
Yeah, during Black History Month.
During Black History.
They had a meeting with us and they came out of nowhere and they said, you know, specifically to me, you know, hey, you know, some of our, you know, stakeholders were saying, you know, Rebecca, they watched you on mute and they said that you gave BET. And Ben was like, hold up now. Now you said she gave BET. Excuse me. Ben stepped in for me at that moment, but I was like,
I was Sharpton real quick.
He did.
The problem.
Yeah, but they definitely say I said, but did they click me off of mute? Did you, as my boss who hired me on, what did you say on my behalf? No, she didn't say anything. First of all, she called herself Olive at the time. She is a person of color, but at that she moved in whiteness. She moved in whiteness. But she moved in whiteness, and I'm like, so for you to be an ally and you hired me on because of what I look like, what did you say for me in that room? And here we go, DEI hires. These people are not gonna hold it down for you in the room when other people are talking about you. They're not gonna hold it down. They know your skills. They know you're qualified. They know why you're here. You hired me because I'm a journalist. You hired me, because I'm Black. But when people are speaking about me, and as my boss, as you know what my qualifications are, you know I'm experienced for this, but you sat there in the room and you allowed these people to say what they thought of me by just watching me on. And she specifically said they watched me on mute. They didn't watch the segment.
That is so unhinged.
Yeah,
it really is.
Jesus.
And they were progressives.
Mm-hmm. Allegedly.
They're the progressives in Get Out.
Yeah,
said he'd vote for Obama 3 times if he could.
Ding, that's it. Ding, ding,
ding.
Yeah.
But that was it. And
Wow.
here we are today. With no longer DEI for us and by us. And you know, that's just kind of how the cookie crumbled. You know, here's what it shows though. You know, they feel like they have the reins, and a lot of these companies do the same thing because they do. They have the money, they have the resources. Everything comes a little bit easier to them in their whiteness and, you know, in their companies. And so these Black people think that, and Issa Rae can attest to this because she's dealing with this as we speak. If you guys know Issa Rae, she made what the hell the show? Insecure, okay, and all them other shows. But she talks about this too. But these people will get you in on there because right now Black is popping, your content is popping. You bring them, you know, what people are looking for right now, the sensitivity with Black people, and then all of a sudden they don't need you anymore. That's happened with Issa Rae. She said, you know, a lot of my shows are being canceled at HBO, at all these places, because they don't value Black people and their stories or their content. So when they're done with you as a DEI hire, they just send you away. So she's like, now I'm focusing on doing it for us and by us. And in that time, when we're doing it like that, it doesn't get as much press, it doesn't get as much push, but we have to be able to sacrifice and hold it down that way with lower numbers or whatever, by still just holding it down by giving Black news. Because again, in media, us telling our stories has always been limited. So we gotta be the ones to be at the forefront of it. And regardless of if we got 2 viewers, or 2,000 viewers, or 2 million viewers, we're just gonna still have to keep holding it down in that way on our own. So yeah, that's my.
They want the credit for being like progressive and having these diverse hiring practices, but like they just want you there. Like they don't want to hear about Black stories. They don't want actual substantive representation. They want descriptive representation, and that's really what a lot of it was about. Like with Google, for example, and Meta as well. Like they announced their DEI programs during the George Floyd protests, so they're trying to basically capitalize on that, elevate themselves, use it for good PR, and then a couple of years later, when people stopped talking about that because, you know, Republicans had co-opted any messaging around that, started talking about CRT and whatnot, then they just quietly shut down those programs or scale them back significantly because like, we're done. We don't need the PR from that. Let's move on to the next thing or whatever it is. It's just so disingenuous.
Because they don't actually care. Like it comes from a place of them just not wanting to be called racist, more so than it comes from a place of them actually wanting to do something. Like for them actually wanting to bring about some sort of change and make things more inclusive and share diverse voices. And
it's the same with every form of watching, right? Rainbow
Right,
watching, it's the exact same thing. You don't actually care about queer folk. You just want to sell like flags, you know?
That's it. Shirts and stuff.
It's like they could have a gay person as like a friend in a movie, but if you actually depict like a romantic relationship, there's like, whoa, that's too much gayness. The audience doesn't want to see that.
Kiss in a Disney movie. Like, come on.
Like it's all like surface level. Just like they want to pat themselves on the back. We're progressives. We include everyone, but then shut the fuck up once you're here.
Yeah.